so our first speaker today is going to talk about real wellness for real results. And how is he positioned to talk about that? Why would we listen to this guy? Well, it's a fascinating story. I was very fortunate. I met this young man sort of randomly at an event. And I was at an event sort of like this, a kind of meet up, and people were talking, and everybody had to stand up and say something. And he stood up, and everybody stood up and did their typical elevator pitch. You know, here's who I am, here's my business, why don't you buy something from me? And he stood up and he said, I faced a challenge in my life of mental illness, and then I overcame it, and now I work with other people so they can overcome their own challenges. And I was actually the speaker at that event, and at the end of it, I was speaking on how to be a good speaker. That's actually what I was teaching at this event. And afterwards, I said, do you realize that everybody in this room just gave their elevator pitch, but there was one person in this room that was authentic, and they spoke of their story, and they shared themselves from a vulnerable, honest place. I said that there was this man over here. I didn't know who he was at the time, but that was Brent Seal. And I was like, now that to me is, that authenticity is what makes a speaker great. So as someone who's been a speaker and worked with them all over the world, I said, now that's something special. And so I'm really honored that he chose to participate in this event, and he has an incredible story that he is going to share with you about his own journey through mental, basically we have this idea of mental illness, but mental wellness, which I think is sort of a way to turn that into a different perspective, a bit of a perceptual shift. So really honored to have him here. So please give a big round of applause to Brent Seal.
Well, thank you so much, Elias. It's truly a pleasure to be here, and thank you all for being here. So grateful to have this opportunity to speak today. Generally, when I talk out in the community and share my story, it's at mental health events. I've been doing that for about 5 or 6 years now. And so this is one of my first wellness events that I've spoken at. And I was preparing for the speech for the last couple of weeks and researching and finding incredible things about the world. Some great information about how we can possibly live forever, and some terrible information of how the world might end in a number of ways. And I started to get nervous and try to craft the perfect speech for you guys and try to put it all together. And I was kind of nervous about that and not sure what to do. And I realized after going out for dinner with Tilo and Mohan and Elias and Christian last night that I was really nervous, because what was happening was I was focused on the result I was looking for in this presentation, and the video I would get out of this, and the coaching I could maybe sell to you guys. And it wasn't until I decided to go out to dinner and just follow that path of why I was really here that I realized I was just here to have this opportunity to share a bit of my story with you guys. And so I took the whole sell the coaching stuff out of my presentation and just realized I was here to share my story and really share the lessons I've learned over the past 8 years of learning about wellness and applying some of these lessons to my life. And if you're interested in the coaching, you can talk to me after about that, but I'm really here to share my story and share what I talk about real wellness. And real wellness to me is wellness that you can integrate into every part of your life. Whether that's your fitness, your nutrition, your values, your relationships, and any other area you're focused on growing in. A big part of this for me is finding a reason why. A big part of wellness, I think, is finding the reasons behind why you want to overcome an illness or why you want to achieve a certain goal with wellness or health. And the reason this is so powerful is because whenever you're trying to overcome a big challenge or achieve something with health or wellness or anything in your life really, of course obstacles come up and come your way. And if you have reasons why they're not powerful and in line with who you really are, those obstacles are going to block you, and you're going to give up, and you're going to go another path, and you're not going to overcome that illness, you're not going to overcome that challenge, you're not going to achieve that goal. And this is something I tapped into after my own struggles and found out that this is my reason why. 1.5 million people are diagnosed with schizophrenia each year around the globe. And I was one of them. In 2007, I was diagnosed, and it was a tough struggle. And one of the first things I did was Google search schizophrenia success stories. And if you can imagine what I came up with, it wasn't overly inspiring what I found. And I made the decision quite quickly to be one of those success stories for those people around the world and try to share my story any way I could, which I started to do right away, and try to work in the field. I studied business at SFU at the time and decided to go into mental health and just dive into it and try to go from a place of taking from the world to serving and giving in the world. This was me, my first year of college, and this is kind of sums up my life at the time. It was a lot of taking from people, lying, cheating, stealing, not treating my body properly, eating bad foods, drinking alcohol, doing drugs, just everything you can imagine, self-sabotaging behaviors. And of course, what that led to was mental health struggles and deep emotional struggles. Once I kind of realized what I was doing with my life, I just spun into this awareness of how bad I was treating myself and others and the world, really. And that really was tough to get through. It really took a lot out of me just to strengthen myself, to understand that I could transform. I had a lot of support from an incredible mental health team, friends and family, and over the past 8 years now, 6 or 8 years, got to the point where this is me this summer, completing my first ultramarathon. And the only reason I can do something like that and go from struggling to run 2 kilometers when I started running a couple of years ago to completing that run was the reason why. And that reason is bigger than myself, and it's about really sharing that with others to try to inspire them that you can really turn your struggles into your strengths and you can turn your challenges into your opportunities. And that's what I've tried to do with my life and my struggles, and it's an incredible thing once you tap into that. So this is kind of my strategy for strengthening your whys, and I just want you guys to quickly close your eyes for a quick moment and think about a big health goal you have in your life. And it could be something you might achieve in 10 years or 20 years. It could be something you want to achieve in the next couple months. But what's that one big health goal you have for yourself? And really focus on it and try to focus on what it would be like if you're living it and if you're achieving it and once you achieve it and how you'd celebrate and what that would feel like. And once you can see yourself living that goal and achieving that goal, I want you to just think of the reason, the underlying reason behind that goal. Why do you want to achieve that goal? Because once you can get some clarity around that why, you can then start to select the best reason why and strengthen that and focus on that. And once you're focused on that real powerful why that's in line with who you are and your deeper purpose for living and your deepest purpose for being alive and serving others, hopefully in some way, you can really start tapping into the power of making that goal achievable and easy to achieve. So you can open your eyes and see that this is the process you can apply to really any goal in your life and figuring out the reasons behind that goal, whether it's, again, overcoming some illness or challenge or achieving some great goal. Just seeing that reason why, seeing the underlying reasons behind it, selecting the most powerful ones in line with yourself, and then working to strengthen those and focus on those. The second piece around real wellness to me is building your awareness. And I'm grateful that you're all here doing that this weekend. Who was here yesterday? Anybody here? Yes. Yeah, powerful day, right? It was a pretty incredible day, and that's what this event is all about, is building your awareness of what wellness is and some tools you can apply. And that's what I've been doing for the last few years, is just having these, what I call wake-up calls of, one wake-up call when I was living in Whistler. I lived there for a couple of years after high school, and I was going to a keg party, and we took a bus there, and the bus dropped us off at the side of the road, and these cars were going down this dirt road to the actual party, and there wasn't enough room in the cars. So a few of us hopped on the roof, and we'd had a few drinks by then, and so we're on the roof cruising along about 30 kilometers an hour down this dirt road in Whistler. And my friend was like, hey, this kind of feels like the Titanic scene where they're kind of like this and they're like cruising in the open air. This is awesome. And I'm like, you know what? This does feel like that. And in fact, I'm going to go to the front of the hood of this car and do that because that would be awesome. And so as soon as I start walking onto the hood of the car, of course the driver thinks I'm falling off the car. What does she do? She slams on the brakes. And I fall in front of the car, and I'm just tumbling and seeing this car come towards me, and luckily it stopped a couple feet away from me. And I kind of hopped into the car after that, went to the party, took some mushrooms, smoked some pot, drank some beer, and kind of laughed it off. And these wake-up calls kind of kept happening in my life, and I was never aware of them. I never really took note of them, of what they were telling me, and until I had the mental health challenges, which was the biggest wake-up call of all. That, when I was struggling, it was a deep episode of psychosis. It was my second one in 2007, and I just thought the world was coming to an end. I thought I was going to be tortured and killed at any moment. I thought my family was being tortured and killed in the room next to me. I attempted suicide. I was placed in the hospital, and that's when I was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And that was kind of the biggest wake-up call that really, people talk about their rock bottom, and that was definitely my rock bottom of just thinking, life cannot get any worse. I'm literally living hell on earth, and I just want this all to end. But luckily I was able to get the support I needed, get back without symptoms, and get back to recovering. And that was the last wake-up call I really needed, and I've just been driving to improve my own health and wellness since then, and learning about things to improve my health and wellness and to spread this message farther and wider along the way. So along the way I've had not just the wake-up calls, but also some breakthroughs. And some of the breakthroughs, this is kind of the format of what I consider real wellness, with a foundational piece of your values and your support system, the people around you, friends, family, mentors, colleagues, people you admire, people you read about that inspire you. 4 pillars being your mind, body, the fuel you take in, and rest and recovery, which I think are so important to include in our daily routine of health and wellness. And then the top being your inspiration, your purpose for living, your dream that you're aspiring to. And these are things along the way that I've kind of picked up and applied to my life and have had some incredible results. I went to a values workshop, and what we did there was we looked at a list of values and clarified kind of which ones are most in line with us and set goals in relation to those values. And what I do now with my values list, I have a hierarchy of values, 4 values that I want to live and live by. And that helps me make decisions. So when I was planning to climb, I was hoping to climb Mount Rainier this year because I got into mountaineering, and an opportunity came up, and it was kind of last minute. I found out about it on the Wednesday. We'd be leaving on the Saturday. I was flying to Kelowna on the Thursday, coming back Friday to do a speech there, and it was just so rushed. And by the time I got back from Kelowna, my energy was about 70%. I was pretty new to mountaineering, so I just didn't want to put a risk to the team, and decided to pull out at the last minute because I looked at my values, and health was near the top, and growth or adventures was kind of lower on the values list. And it was an easy decision, and it was just something, that gut decision and gut feeling, and following that because of my values, I just felt and knew it was the right decision right away. And I just thought, maybe another opportunity will come up this year, maybe next year, who knows. It was a great opportunity. My friends went and climbed the mountain. They had perfect conditions and weather. I just left it and almost like detached from the outcome and just said, I just got to leave it because that's the right decision for me, and I never felt bad about it. Well, less than a month later, another opportunity came up, went and climbed the mountain, and we also had perfect conditions. It was a great time, and it was a great lesson to just learn how to follow that inner voice and follow those values that you can pick for yourself and try to live. And it takes conscious effort for me still, but I think you can get to the point where you just kind of live it automatically, which I'm trying to get to. The pillars, this can all sometimes be overwhelming. It's a lot of stuff to work on. But when I started to get into nutrition, and Adam Hart, who's here, I've been inspired by his work as well, because I came across him about a year and a half ago, and my girlfriend and I were kind of flowing towards the veganism, and it just seemed so restrictive, and I wasn't sure if it was the healthiest approach to nutrition, and came across Adam's idea of applying the 80-20 principle towards nutrition, and started applying that, and really have lost a bunch of weight due to my medication that I gained on the medication. Had just so much more energy to be able to train for these runs and climbs. And my mental health has stabilized and improved. And so if you look at any one of these areas on this chart, if you improve any one of the areas, it really overflows and supports and nourishes the other areas. So it's not like you have to kind of work on everything at once. It's like you pick one area and just learn about these things. You can learn about the brain and the mind and how each brain cell is coated in a layer of fat. And those fats are nourished by things like omega-3 fatty acids, which we've all heard about. But when you learn about the sources of omega-3s and that, the plant-based sources don't have necessarily the proper type. They have ALA omega-3s. And the type your brain needs is DHA and EPA. And so you can look and say, oh, the fish oils have that, but the fish oils are toxic. So where do you go? And you learn about things like algae, marine phytoplankton, and green algae, and chlorella and spirulina that have the proper type of omega-3 fatty acids for your brain, but don't have the toxins at the levels the fish do. So you just start to learn these kind of tricks that's a kind of fuel or nutrition trick that applies to not only your nutrition and your energy, but your mind, your body, and that all just kind of flows and supports each other. So this is just something to consider when you're talking about wellness and just ways to integrate it into your daily life. This is what wellness looks like to me now on the weekends, and it's really about being with people I love being around. This is my girlfriend and I, Mount Brunswick, which is just on the North Shore. This is literally our backyard with the Gulf Islands in the background and a beautiful view. This is just a day trip that we went on a couple weeks ago. A friend taking the picture. Again, support system, your friends, spending that time with quality people that support you in good times and bad. Celebrating on a day like this with a view like that, and just soaking in that beauty of our nature and our backyard, really. This is also what wellness starts to look like for me. It's me and my girlfriend starting our first garden this summer, and just really connecting to our food in a deeper way, because that's part of our world right now. We're so disconnected from the sources of our clothes and our food and really everything we do. And so just to get that connection to the things you're doing and again, the reasons why. Why are we doing this? Why are we growing our own food? Is it to reduce our food bill? Well, of course not. But it's really just to gain that connection to our food and to get more in line with it and know that it came from a quality source and just enjoying that process of seeing something grow. And the third piece is to commit to some action. So a lot of what we're learning about this weekend can be overwhelming. There's so many good ideas, but what do you apply? How do you apply it? And how do you integrate it into your life? Even what I've talked about, there's about eight parts of that blueprint I just shared with you. Each speaker has their own ideas of how to build wellness into your life. But how do you commit to that action? And I see it as a 3-step process. I call it sustainable success cycle, because it's all well and good to really push and get some success in some area of your health. But if it's not sustainable, then it's not worth it, and it's not as valuable. So that's the whole kind of mechanism of diets, and that's the idea of getting a membership at a gym and not going after the first couple weeks. So I think success in whatever you're doing, especially health and wellness, has to be sustainable. And this is the idea of modeling. So what does that mean? It means reaching out and finding people who have already done what you've done or what you're trying to do. I guarantee whatever you're trying to do in your health and wellness, someone else has done it, written about it in a book, a blog, YouTube videos, and it's out there. The information is just finding those quality people to follow, to learn about and apply what they've done, apply that to your own life, customize it in some ways, but just model those people and you'll see a similar result. Second piece is around building and growing momentum with it. So if you look at the idea of pumping water from a well, and at first you got to pump really hard, and it seems like you're working really hard just to get a few trickles of water, but all of a sudden that water flows, and you can kind of ease off the effort a little bit, and that water just keeps flowing with a lot less effort. And then you can kind of move over to something else, and you can have these breakthroughs kind of one at a time and keep stacking them on top of each other and building a life that's truly full of wellness. And the other idea around it is thinking about like a gears on a bike. So you have a road bike or a mountain bike with a bunch of gears. You don't start going up a hill in a high gear where it's very tough to cycle the bike. So that's the idea of gearing down. So you might have that big goal you're working towards, which is the high gear, but you gear down to the smaller goals and you kind of chunk it down to something achievable in the next day or the next couple weeks, and you build upon that and build momentum with it. And the third piece is all about accountability, finding somebody in your life that can hold you accountable other than yourself, because it's quite difficult to hold ourselves accountable to some of the higher goals we have. Someone that's going to hold you accountable to a higher standard for yourself. And you can find an accountability partner. It can be friends or family. This can be a mentor or a coach. And this is another powerful way to just integrate this piece into your life. And you take what you learn from the modeling, you get into momentum with it, you have that accountability, and you can really grow and start integrating wellness into your life. And whether that's overcoming your illness, a challenge, getting to that goal you're working towards, this is a sustainable model of success, I think, that I've tried to apply and has worked out quite well. And this is pretty much what I want you guys to feel when you gain your wellness, and just be excited. I'm so excited about life right now. I'm so grateful. Elias did an activity yesterday really focusing on what we're grateful for, everybody in the crowd. And when I was thinking about that, I just was so grateful to be in this place, to be at this event. My girlfriend and I were running the smoothie bar all day yesterday, and she was launching her new website, and we were just embracing this community that we were meeting new people here and seeing old friends and mentors, and I was just so appreciative and grateful for being in this place, because it feels so good, and it's just incredible from where I've been through and the struggles to be here with you guys today, speaking on this stage. This is pretty much sums up how I feel. This was a few weeks ago in Utah. We did a little road trip down there, and this is kind of how I feel about life. It's something to be enjoyed, something to be fulfilled by, and something to really thrive in. And once you're thriving and fulfilled, just share that with others, and your path will open up, and it'll be pretty incredible. So that's kind of all I have to share. I'm happy to take some questions, and I appreciate this time. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, Larry. This is where you can reach me if you're interested in connecting. I'd be happy to connect with you all. So thank you.
Brent, can you go back to the picture?
This picture?
That is huge airtime.
Yeah, I was pretty excited.
You say airtime or airtime? Both.
That's in Moab?
It might have been the angle of the, I don't know, yeah. This is in Moab. This is Corona Arch. We got to, we were going to Arches National Park, and we got there like the day all the national parks closed when they had the big closure of the, so this was an unplanned place that we came across, and it was just as beautiful as any national park, so it was pretty incredible place to be.
All right, thank you, Brent.
Yeah.
Brent Steele, ladies and gentlemen, thank you.